Former United States Ambassador to the United Nations and former National Security Advisor to President Obama, Ambassador Susan Rice. Ambassador Rice, putting your National Security Advisor hat back on, your reaction to this report?
It's stunning. It's likely the biggest national security debacle that any professional can remember. Let me explain a bit why this is so crazy. First of all, national security advisors convene what is called the National Security Principles Committee. This is the cabinet level group that makes the most important decisions and recommendations to the president on national security. It's all those people that are on that chat: the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the Director of National Intelligence, the CIA Director, and others. By the way, it's bizarre to me that it appears the acting chairman of the Joint Chiefs was not on that signal chat. But in any case, the norm is that you call a meeting of the national security principles, typically in person, in the White House Situation Room, which is a very secure facility, in the basement of the White House. You can't bring your phones in, you can't bring your Apple Watches in, because all of those are devices that can be used by our adversaries to listen to what's going on. And then you spend hours, literally hours, interrogating the entire concept. Is this the right time? Is this the right plan? What are the regional security ramifications? What are the diplomatic ramifications? How do we ensure that we have prepared the allies? How do we communicate this to the public? This kind of planning for a military operation should be done very carefully and very deliberately, not on a signal chat, not with emojis, and not without very careful deliberation. For the Trump people to be saying this chat shows how seriously they take the decision-making process makes me laugh out loud. I would share, as all my previous predecessors would have, very thoughtful, detailed, deliberate meetings in the White House Situation Room, probably multiple meetings. We would never get on a signal chat, which is inherently insecure. They did this in all likelihood on their personal phones. They were discussing what is inherently a classified topic, which is whether and when the United States might launch military action against an adversary. There's no spinning that that's not a classified conversation. The very fact of the National Security Cabinet considering and recommending to the president a military attack is by definition classified, because you do not want your adversaries to know that information in advance so that they can prepare, evade, or attack American personnel in the process. So this is an extraordinary breach, even leaving aside the mind-boggling fact that they let a reporter into the conversation. They had an inherently sensitive, classified discussion about the most sensitive kind of information, war planning, on a non-governmental, non-secure, non-classified application. I can't get my head around it, Alicia, honestly.
With one participant participating, we now know from Moscow. Should Mike Walls have submitted a resignation letter today?
Well, let me say this. First of all, this absolutely needs to be thoroughly investigated. I can't imagine in any prior administration that a national security advisor, Secretary of Defense, and very importantly, the Director of National Intelligence and the CIA Director all know what is classified. Their job is to protect classified, that they all willingly participated without even batting an eye in a classified conversation on a non-secure, non-government application. I mean, frankly, nobody would survive that in any previous administration. Now, obviously, these people have utter disregard for norms and frankly, our national security, or they wouldn't have conducted such a sensitive conversation in this way. And obviously, since nobody balked at the notion that they would have this conversation on the Signal app, it suggests very much that they do this all the time, that this is their normal modus operandi. And now we learned today that Tulsi Gabbard was overseas. We learned Witkoff was in Russia. That's like just hand it to the Russians on a silver platter. You're sitting in a Moscow hotel room. Give me a break. And Alicia, people need to understand, we have ways of doing this. Every member of the President's National Security Cabinet, every national security advisor, when they travel, they have a team of communicators that go with them. that set up secure communications by phone, by video, to enable people, if they're not present in Washington and in the White House, to communicate. Every single one of them has in their home what is called a secure compartmented information facility, a SCIF. It's like a room or a closet that has been specially tailored to ensure that you can have sensitive classified conversations in there and the equipment to do it. This is pure laziness, malpractice, recklessness, and probably also a desire to hide from the Presidential Records Act the legal responsibility to keep written communications that happen and between government officials and particularly national security officials for the public record. So there are many, many ways that it was so crazy.
There's something you said that I want to make sure to go back to. I think the word you used was bizarre to describe what seemed like the acting chair of the Joint Chiefs not being on that thread. Why might they leave the acting chair of the Joint Chiefs out of a discussion like this?
Well, let me say, I mean, I'm inferring that from the list of people that Jeff Goldberg reported were in the conversation. There were two people at least were missing that would normally be in that conversation: the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, in this case the acting chairman, and the Central Command commander, the CENTCOM commander, whose area of operations this took place in. Normally they would be involved and be providing their military advice and judgment, but if the chairman of the Joint Chiefs participated in a signal chat about a military operation, I would be blown away. They know better. Why they were excluded is remarkable to me. They are the ones with the technical knowledge and expertise as to how this is going to be executed. So that is troubling to me in the extreme and raises a question of how are these people making national security decisions? Who's giving advice to the president? The chairman's role is to be the advisor to the president on military affairs. Like, what is going on?
The leader of the opposition party in the UK tweeted this today. J.D. Vance and his mates clearly aren't fit to run a group chat, let alone the world's strongest military force. It has to make our security services nervous about the intelligence we're sharing with them. I have to imagine that is a version of a conversation that all of our allies are having in the wake of this absolute fiasco.
Absolutely, no doubt. They're all gobsmacked and freaked out that the information that we regularly share amongst allies is so compromised potentially by this kind of reckless management of the national security decision-making process. But I think the European allies are also very likely concerned about what J.D. Vance revealed about his perspective on this. He was very clear saying, you know, that he was concerned that we were not screwing our European allies by leaving them hanging because they, like us, depend on the free flow of traffic through the Red Sea and these waterways. For J.D. Vance to rather screw our European allies than support a military operation against an Iranian-backed terrorist organization that has attacked American personnel and its ships is mind-blowing. Why would that not be the priority? But instead, he was more concerned about, well, we'd be helping our European allies by doing this, and therefore, that's not what we want to do. There's so many aspects of this which are really quite mind-blowing.
As we wait for that.